It's game night, but I'm dreading it. With how busy my life is these days, this is the only time that I'm going to be able to get to see my friends this week. So why am I dreading game night? I've often felt like this, and I want to start this video off by saying that that's okay. It's okay to feel like you need to take a break sometimes. But if you, like me, don't want to feel like this, then keep watching. This video is going to be the first in a series about how to enjoy games more as a player, and how to in turn become a better player. In this video in particular, we're going to be exploring the research of John Gottman and Julie Schwartz-Gottman, two of the world's leading relationship psychologists. We will discover one huge reason that marriages fall apart, and how that same problem could be afflicting your gaming table. Then, we'll turn their results on its head and equip you with a solution to feel happier playing tabletop role-playing games. The Gottmans and their team of researchers observed 130 newlywed couples interacting over a weekend at what was functionally an Airbnb. They watched couples do what they would normally do: binge TV, clean, talk, fight. The researchers recorded and analyzed everything, even the smallest interactions, and they learned something groundbreaking. When my wife and I were planning our wedding, we decided to read their book together. Not because we were having problems or anything, but just because we wanted to start our relationship off, our marriage off on the right foot. Their research made intuitive sense to me, and I've been practicing their evidence-based approach to relationships in not only my marriage, but with my coworkers, my friends, and at my gaming table. And it's helped me find a little bit more joy and a little bit more connection in my games, and I want to share that with you. Our tabletop role-playing games are comprised of all of these tiny little interactions, and our table is nothing but a spider web of relationships. If we apply the Gottman's discovery to our game, we can build better tables. We can build better games. So the Gottmans recognized a pattern emerging in their experiment surrounding what they call bids for connection. One person would make a bid, initiating a connection. It could be as simple as a touch on the arm or pointing out the window and saying, "Hey, look at that bird." And how their partner responded to these bids was identified in the experiment as the biggest predictor for divorce. We'll get there, but let's stay on the bids for a second and apply them to tabletop role-playing games. So what is a bid for connection, or a bid for short? According to the Gottmans, they are the verbal and non-verbal gestures that signal a need for attention. At the table, we send out bids for connection all the time. GMs describe an interesting feature of the environment, like the sound of a door opening, or a distinctive feature of an NPC, like a wounded leg. In both cases, the GM is telling you that they have a story for you down that road. And when we ignore that description, we are missing out on a chance to engage in that part of the story. But bids needn't come from just the GM. Your fellow players might describe how a particular NPC makes their character feel very nervous or fearful, or they might describe how their hand begins to tremor their third day into the trek through the mountains. Each time, the player may be inviting you to engage on the story of their character. And when we ignore that bid, we are communicating a disinterest in that player's creativity. Now, I do want to tell you what the biggest predictor of divorce was, according to the Gottman's experiment, but I want to stay on this a little bit longer to try to distinguish a bid for connection from simple exposition. In each example I gave previously, the GM describing the door open or the wounded leg on the NPC, how do we know that the DM is making a bid for connection instead of providing simple exposition? I think several of us have had that experience where we think the GM wants us to investigate something, but really there's nothing there. It happened infamously in that scene in Critical Role with the chair. And I don't think the players were wrong to try to investigate the chair. After all, it could have led to some important clues for them to figure out what had happened in that scene. But maybe they shouldn't have gotten as obsessed as they did with the chair. Maybe they shouldn't have spent as much in-game time as they did. I think the takeaway from the chair incident is that a bid for connection and simple exposition may sometimes be indistinguishable. But I think we should always err on the side of the bid, because we don't want to miss a chance to engage with the story or to raise up a player's creativity. But when we're given that signal that our attention may be better utilized elsewhere, let's go chase that lead instead. So that's how we identify a bid for connection. But once we see it, what do we do? Back to the Gottmans. They found that partners responded to bids to connection in 3 ways. 1, by turning toward. They gave a response that acknowledged the bid and engaged with the bid. By turning away, their partner ignored the bid, or by turning against, where their partner got irritated with the bid. They followed these 130 newlyweds for 6 years. And they found that the couples who were still married after 6 years turned toward, in that little experiment, 53% of the time more often than couples who were divorced. That is an enormously statistically significant gap and indicates a major point of intervention. Let's apply it to our gaming table by looking at one of those previous examples that I gave for a bid for connection and figuring out how we could turn towards it. In the example that I gave, where the DM describes a door creaking open downstairs, the most obvious way to turn towards that would be to go downstairs and check it out. In the intersection of tabletop role-playing games and improv, this is called yes and. But you could also jump out the window, land on the ground, and sneak in around behind the person who went through the front door to figure out who they are. This is called yes, but, which is like a brother to yes and. But I also don't want to give the impression that you have to turn toward all the time by saying yes. You can turn toward by saying no. In response to the door creaking open downstairs, you could jump out the window and then run away. That is saying no, but, which is like a cousin, I guess, to yes and yes, but. I do want to take the chance to say that all of these actions that are being performed here are pushing the story in an interesting, intense direction, and I assure you that that is no coincidence. Now, turning toward doesn't have to be an action in the tabletop role-playing game. Again, all that's required is acknowledgement. So you can ask questions in response to a bid too, like, can I hear footsteps? How many? Did we lock the door? These are all valid questions that turn towards the DM's bid. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that all of this advice is going to help you marry your table. I mean, good luck on that, though. But following the advice from the Gottmans about turning towards bids will help you increase the connection and joy that you get from your game. Not only that, but you'll become a better player by helping your other players feel more heard and creative. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm a big fan of the Gottmans' work, as you can probably tell. But it wasn't until I heard Dale Kingsmill's video up here that I had thought about how to apply the Gottmans' work to tabletop role-playing games, my favorite subject. Just as the Gottmans figured out a way to stay happier in marriage, if we apply bids for connection and turn towards them, we can stay happier in our tabletop role-playing games. We can make our tabletop games better. If you found this video impactful, do all the YouTube things, but especially subscribe and share this video with a fellow gamer who could probably use it. Again, this video is just the first one in a series about increasing your happiness during your gaming. I think the next one in the series, although maybe not the next video that I upload, will be about learning to pace the game as a player. Anyways, see you guys next Thursday. Thank you.